right. Welcome in as we are back on a Saturday to make you some money here on PrizePicks. Of course, PrizePicks.com. It's myself, EMac, is in the house, and he's going to be the one making you money. Thoroughly researched, deep mind researched EMac is in the house. Jordan is producing as well. And look, just be prepared because we're going to go around here from multiple different positions, multiple different ways in which you can stack up on PrizePicks. Your flex play, where you can get 2 of 3, depending on how many you do, 3, 4, 5, build up. Your power play, if you feel lucky, and take a couple of EMac's picks and put them all in there, thinking and knowing, of course, that they all are going to hit. What's happening, brother? I'm ready, man. You've been on a pretty good streak so far, so I think we're all just willing and ready to tail you once again.
I'm doing all right here. I learned 2 things today. I learned just now about key numbers because I made a sports wager, because we have the Awesemo odds channel and we have DFS and odds betting, and we'll talk about this just for a moment, because basically PrizePicks, we're making our own parlay cards. So for those of you that are not in a state that has legalized wagering, this is a similar way of doing it, but they've turned it into a fantasy sport. It's the same thing. It's probabilities. We can look at different stats. We can look at different fantasy outputs, all sorts of stuff like that. You can make a card of 2, 3, 4, or 5 questions. You go over or under. You get, as many as 5 right. If you get all 5 right, you get 10 extra value. They've added a flex play where if you get 3 out of 5, you get like 2 times your money. But if you've chosen flex play and get 5 out of 5, you don't get 10x. You usually get 5x. But It's a safety net there for you. I learned about a safety net there. The push, I had some 4-leg parlays going today, pushed on Western Michigan. Now our guys got the number at 6.5. I didn't get it today till 7. They were down, then they tied it up. Then they were up by 2 touchdowns, allowed a late one. They won by 7. I thought I lost my whole parlay, but you explained to me, and that's what it did. It took that leg out, and I'm live again, except I just MMA locked and I didn't set my lineup. So.
Oh no.
Fate giveth and she taketh away.
You talk about a balance right there. Unbelievable, man. Seriously, that is a just microcosm, right, of how the betting day usually goes, where it's, as you mentioned, you have something big, and then all of a sudden, hopefully that's not the last bet or lock that you have to deal with, and you can not end the night on such a sour note of MMA locking without yours in there.
Rarely does it lock it. It's usually 6, sometimes 7.
Yeah.
My placeholder.
Well, here's what I would say.
Had the 2 fighters in the fight that was canceled, so I'm drawing.
Oh my! Is that what? Oh, jeez. Well, look. Also, too, if you ever see, like, I know Rasa had Western Michigan at 6.5. Yep. And you go to the book, whatever your book of choice is today, and you see it at 7, always go with our sharp, right? So that's another thing. You can mess with that. You can always get an alternative line there and squeeze that out a little bit. Even if you're laying an extra penny or nickel and juice, it's worth it. As you can see, that half a point. But you're in business. The parlay's in good shape. And as you mentioned, that's what we do here on PrizePicks. In fact, the flex play is kind of like that, where it's almost like a round robin in the sense where you don't need everyone to hit, and you don't have to worry about anything voiding, because we always take care of you, make sure that you're going to go over a certain number or stay under that half as it may be. So much different in the sense of I think it's much easier in PrizePicks to avoid that little hiccup as far as just the regular books.
Yeah, and again, what we wanted to just talk about, and we'll get into all the analysis here. We'll race through it. You have
a ton of analysis to bring here today, as you always do, with multiple shots across the board.
Oh, absolutely. But the other key thing to remember is we teach you how to do this stuff at Awesemo. I got these plays. I'm tailing them out of our premium fantasy sports channel. I added in one that I liked myself. One of them aligned with what I liked, and then I took 2 from these other guys, Mac and Jeske, Ben Russell. They do this all day, every day. Ben knows a guy. He's known a guy for the last 7 years and done this full time in addition to DFS. So just saying, these guys know where to find the edges. They're happy to explain stuff to us. They'll throw out a few plays here and there, and they're not throwing out long shots to you. They're saying, no, this isn't going to be the biggest path, but I want a little sweat. I want a little victory, and I don't want to have to redeposit. So I don't need to hit these long shots. I just want to see some green. That's it.
Yep, that's fine. We just won't bring up Missouri today. But you're right. Every other area on that. That's my little shot at Rasa. There, I tried to move away from it, but I couldn't help it. Now, let's jump into this, man, because I can't wait to see the quarterbacks is usually where we start, something up in the air. If it's pass yards, if it's maybe touchdowns, something along those lines. So week 4 now, week 3 was tough. Week 3 was, I think, a difficult slate across the board. Not that we had trouble by any means on this show, but I think just in general, you look at a couple of those lines, you look at a couple of prop picks, at least selections out there, tough games as a whole. I feel like week 4 is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing on the surface at the very least. And I'm sure that there's a couple of opportunities you found, EMac, at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to start off here with Patrick Mahomes. Of course, we randomly, since you're on the show, we're talking Philly because we need a little insider.
Philly always comes up. I think Lofty has like seeded everything in here now on the channel, like, Philly. It's almost like subliminal.
Well, we've got Mahomes on PrizePicks at 307.5 passing yards. Awesemo's projecting him for 326. So that's not quite about 15% over. That's an interesting one. He is the most projected quarterback that we have there. So that's not my best play. Some of my best plays are down in the wide receiver stuff and some position players. Well, like receivers getting rushing yards or quarterbacks getting rushing yards or running backs getting receptions. They've got some ones that I think we can take advantage of here, but we always like to start at the top, big numbers with the quarterbacks. Somebody like Pat Mahomes, we're not sure if Tyreek Hill is 100% healthy. He and Travis Kelce both are sharing the team lead in targets, but I feel a little bit better about Kelce, but still 307 yards. That, while it's not a gimme, his career average is just over 304. I haven't incorporated his last 2 games, but when I was writing him up earlier in the year, his career average for Pat Mahomes was 2.5 touchdowns and just over 300 yards. So ridiculous. Hey, what are we going to do with that? We have Josh Allen. Now, this one's an interesting one. Awesemo is going for 298 passing yards for Josh Allen. Normally, I'd say, yeah, that's great. PrizePicks only has him at 280.5. However, what happens if Buffalo gets ahead and this time decides to run the ball? They've got Moss, they've got Singletary. We may not see Josh Allen needing to throw. Now, he could have 250 yards in the first half, and then we're just counting on a couple other receptions in the second half on second and third down, and all of a sudden we're going to get there. But this one doesn't quite feel as good when you start to think about the game flow. And some of these you have to start looking at the probabilities. Remember, both sides here are just choosing their median outcome, and then we have to utilize the probabilities of what could happen, what are the likelihoods of other things going on, et cetera, to figure out where we want to land. So while this looks like a good one, for me, it's just kind of a stay away. Unless we could see, two Diggs 50-yarders and, about 8 Cole Beasley over the middle where the tight end should be.
Peppering them, yeah.
They only throw to the tight end, the creative player tight end when they're in the red zone. Yeah. Yeah. Three or four different tight ends got touchdowns last year.
That's the thing. Like, I wouldn't count on, you're right. Don't count on the tight end position to fuel Josh Allen's yards against Houston by any means.
All right. So Jimmy G, here's an interesting one. He's going against Seattle. So the 49ers, we know they like to run the ball. However, what if Russ is cooking and he has to pass? Seattle doesn't have the best pass defense. He's got Deebo Samuel. Kittle's a little dinged up. He's got a calf
I don't think
strain.
Kittle plays.
If he doesn't play, then the Awesemo projection is going to come down for Jimmy G. But if Russ is cooking there, we have him right now at 271 yards. PrizePicks has him at 247.5. Again, I wouldn't want to make that one until I know what's going on with Kittle. Kittle being out just takes another option out. We know the running backs are all dinged up, but this is the 49ers. They still have a good defense, and they're going to try to eat the clock, especially if they're ahead. So if Seattle dithers around and doesn't get in the end zone, then we're not going to see, the lofty 270 total there for Jimmy G. And then our final one at this position for the passing yardage before we get to the next categories, back to Jalen Hurts. We got to talk Eagles. So 237 passing yards against Kansas City. Now, he got 264 against Atlanta. He got 326 in primetime against Dallas. Awesemo has him projected for 270. I wanted to ask you, because you're you watch every play with bated breath. I watch a lot of the Eagles games when they're in prime times, but I'm doing 17 other things. So I'm only catching replays. Does this feel comfortable going against a high flying team like Kansas City?
I think the opportunity for the Eagles offense is actually going to be on the ground. So if I had to choose a specific Jalen Hurts prop, I would look, and it's probably going to be sharper because of how well he can run, even though he didn't hit that prop because it was so high last week. But I think first and foremost, that's where the attack is going to be. The problem I have with going over on this number as low as it seems, and look, it's a low number, right? 238 really is all you need to clear. The only thing I would look at from last week is that they got points and they moved the ball in the air later, and Dallas had already established that all control of the game. So there was some softer defenses, some little softer coverage. They're also down, EMac. It looks like Jordan Mailata, again, they're starting left tackle. They're already down Brandon Brooks, they're starting right guard. And Isaac Seumalo is out for the rest of the year. They're starting left guard. So they may just try and move the ball quick and not take a lot of deep shots, although it's counter to having Devontae Smith, having Quez Watkins, and even Jalen Reagor, who hasn't really shown up much this year. You've got 3 speed guys. So that's this whole thing about Jalen Hurts, where I feel like this is probably going to be a couple of, like a 24 type points that the Eagles will put up, but somewhere around like 220. I'm not hating you going over this though, by any means. Like, it's such a low number that I think it's really just such a wide gap to kind of decide which way. But there was soft coverage, the linemen being down, and Kansas City is the worst rush defense in the NFL. That's what I would look at.
So among our 4 choices here, I still feel strongly about Mahomes on the over of 307. Yeah. I'm ambivalent. Game flow. How do you feel the game flow is going to go against Houston? That's for the Josh Allen. The Jimmy G is going to come off the board for me because we don't know what's going on with Kittle. And then Jalen Hurts, I agree. It looks like a low number. I still like the over at 237.5. His rushing number on PrizePicks is 51.5. We have him at 47 at Awesemo. So that's
51?
one that's
I feel okay. So let me ask you this. What do you feel more comfortable in, going over his rush total or over his pass total?
The pass total at 237 makes me happy.
Okay.
If he was going against a team that probably wasn't going to put nearly as many points on the board, like if this was the Dallas one, I would, well, that's not a good example. There are situations where I would take the rushing at that one, but I'd want it to be in a game where the Eagles probably are not playing from behind by more than 1 score.
Okay.
Or by more than 2 touchdowns is better. They can sort of say, all right, we got it. We know what this is. As long as we march down, get a field goal or a touchdown, we're still going to be within a score, right? That's the kind of game plan instead of the, oh no, we're down 14-3 already. Crap.
Yep. You're right.
Thing. And that can happen with Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Blink of the eye. No, it's so true. I think you're onto something with Josh Allen. And real quick, I mean, as you pop in, please hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed here to the Awesemo channel. And also take advantage. We're going to match your first deposit at prizepicks.com up to $100. All you need to do is just use our promo code Awesemo. Sound familiar? We use it a lot. AWESEMO. Use that, match up to $100 on your first deposit. Think about that. You drop 100, we drop 100. You have $200 to play with on all of these picks that EMac is giving you here ahead of this weekend. One quick thing before we move on. I'm curious because maybe the angle on Kittle not playing, which I agree, stay away from Jimmy G. And we're going to get to the receiving down in a second here. But just a quick aside, I wonder if we start to look at someone like Deebo Samuel ahead of time, probably a more favorable number with Kittle still up in the air, as opposed to when inevitably for me, he gets ruled out. And then that may move up a little bit where we get ahead of the number on Deebo. Because you know that if Kittle's out, EMac, Deebo is going to be peppered. Deep or short, doesn't matter. They're going to get the ball in his hands as much as possible.
So right now, Awesemo has, maybe we go this route right away. Awesemo has Deebo Samuel at 85. PrizePicks has him at 69. And Awesemo, do we have Kittle in here? So we still have Kittle in for 74 yards. Yep. So that Jimmy G projection that we have is already rich towards Deebo, and that could get I don't want to say it'll get much higher. The probability of him getting to that number will get higher. It doesn't mean his overall ceiling is the gimme. It's just that he should get that incremental opportunity to get him up to the number, which makes me feel better.
Yeah,
Good call out.
Yeah, look, we're just trying to take advantage of everything here, right? I think, you start to look at circumstance, and you brought up about Kittle and just how that cloud hanging over is going to hurt Jimmy G's productivity. But at the same time, we also know that there's going to be one guy on that offense. It ain't going to be Brandon Ayuk. We know that. So we start to look at Debo. That's all. All right, man, let's move on. We've got running backs here, or at least rushing yardage to look at as a whole here.
So these are just kind of interesting ones. I think there's only one actionable play. So we know that A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are out. Oh, my God, it's Derrick Henry season. You get Chester Rogers. He's at the minimum on some sites, Yahoo in particular. But we have Henry for 120 yards. They have him for 117 and a half. That's kind of a stay away. But, wow, that's a pretty heavy projection. Ezekiel Elliott, if you're a believer that he's back, 66.7 yards for Awesemo, 58.5 for Dallas. I don't feel that comfortable because Pollard is still lurking there. But for those of you that think, oh, Elliott can get there, he's getting all the carries and all of this, maybe. The one I like, Taysom Hill. Wait, this is rushing yards. You bet it is. 12 and a half. He's going against the Giants. Awesemo has him for 19 and a half. Week 2 against Carolina, 2 carries for 16 yards. Would have topped it. Week 3, 6 for 32 and a touch. I like this one.
Wow. This is, again, something I would never have expected to be talking about. The Taysom Hill prop. You probably can't even find it. And look, this is another reason why you're on PrizePicks and not going and rushing to the books to play these props. You probably can't even find that on most, if not all, books, right? So again, PrizePicks offering you a deeper opportunity to play a couple of props here. That's amazing. And you even bring the data. You're right. He's gone over 2 straight weeks now. I didn't even think the volume would be there, but really at 13 yards, you don't really need that much volume for him.
Yeah. And now let's play this out. New Orleans is favored by 7 or 7.5, depending on where you look. And they're trying not to move off that key number. That's why not all the books have gone there yet. I know this now. I understand.
Look at that. See?
It suddenly makes
a lot
sense
to move off the key number. Absolutely.
So what we've got here is, what if the Saints get ahead? Don't you think Sean Payton's going to want to screw around and do something with Taysom Hill? Just to say, remember, we got this guy. I know as soon as Jameis falters, he's going to try to get him in there, but this is an interesting spot.
Well, I think real quick to your point, when you're down, look, you don't have Latavius Murray. They know about Alvin Kamara as not being somebody that you want to just physically run the clock out. They're not going to do quick passes as much. There's going to be some sort of commitment, and assuming that they're up, right? Like a pretty good margin on this Giants team. You bring Taysom Hill in for a couple of drive or at least plays in that back end. That's a running back. That's somebody who, those are design runs to kill clock. So he becomes even more valuable just running the football, to your point, if they're up, which we assume.
Yeah. And that's exactly that sort of a play out that I'm hoping for.
Oh,
so
like
receiving yards, I got interesting one. So I wanted to double back here with Ezekiel Elliott. So receiving yards, 17 and a half on PrizePicks. Awesemo has him for 26. He does have 21 and 26 in his last 2 weeks. I feel a little bit better about this than his rushing total, but not enough to go after it. But again, if you think that, Ezekiel Elliott, 17 and a half, let's remember he's sharing the backfield. There's other receivers. He's not the guy anymore. He's got the guy's contract. He's also not dusty or dead or finished or done. It's just a reminder that perhaps allocating that kind of salary cap to a running back is not the way you ought to do things in the, now that we're out of the 90s. But Kyle Pitts is interesting. 47 and a half yards. He's going against Washington. Now, Washington still has a pretty good defense. They've got some interesting linebackers. Even though Awesemo has it projected as under, or it does have it projected as under, I'm leaning that way as well myself. Now, Kyle Pitts at some point is going to have big games. I don't think this is one of them. Through his first 3 weeks, his targets, week 1, 2, and 3 is how I'll read these. 8, 6, just 3 targets last week. His receptions 4, 5, and 2, and his yardage 31, 73, and 35. So I don't think that's a rough number, but he's going to need to have a breakout game to get there, or a breakout. He's going to need to have the second best game of his career in game 4 to get to that number.
Yeah.
But
And
I feel like
he just comes off a disappointing. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just he comes off week 2. He has a monster game, or at least a career game for him, right? And then week 3 he falls off the face of the earth. So it's not a great sign that you couldn't get consistency. That's all.
All right. Here's the ones I want. I've been maybe hemming and hawing. I want to say you have to look through all of these on PrizePicks. There are ones that aren't great. They're sharp. They'd be out of money if they weren't. But this is where we find all the good stuff.
Right.
This is full point PPR. I want to say that. We'll get to some fantasy points in a minute. Last week I was saying it was half PPR, but I apologize. It is full PPR. They just don't have yardage bonuses. What I got mixed up in my mind. But DJ Moore, Awesemo has him as the number 1 receiver this week for yardage at 97. PrizePicks has him at 76. That's pretty low. That's pretty big disparity. So I said, well, what are they doing with Robbie Anderson? PrizePicks has Robbie Anderson at 47.5.
That's low.
Awesemo has him at 61.5. I really want the DJ Moore over. I'm pretty strongly looking at the over for Robbie Anderson. The question then becomes, do you want both of those in the same card? Well, if we're seeing a lot of Josh Arnold passing, then yeah, that makes sense. If it ends up being more of a just a kind of an up and down the field, but not too quick or sustained drives, then maybe only one of them gets there. So that's another game script one. But the DJ Moore over on 79 yards, that's my number 1 play of the day.
Of the day, not even of the group, of the day. That's it. That's the most confident. Here's the thing. DJ Moore, we know no matter the circumstance, is going to be a huge part of the offense, right? Like Sam Darnold can't exist without DJ Moore playing well, and you can't get up on a team without DJ Moore being involved, especially now that Christian McCaffrey's out. Robbie Anderson is the definition of boom bust, right? On every given game, you really don't know what you can get from him. I feel like DJ Moore, you can probably angle even more so anything with him, from receptions to receiving yards to even a touch. I mean, if it's at a half, then my goodness, definitely. But yeah, I love taking advantage of the volume that DJ Moore is going to have, because if they can't be up without him being involved, and that if they're down, hey, guess who's going to get the football? Or at least who they're going to try to get the football to. It's not going to be dropping back and throwing the ball 10 times to Robbie Anderson, EMac. It'll be DJ Moore.
Absolutely. Next one, receptions. I only have one guy in this category.
Only one?
And part of the reason is, now some of these you can go find if you're looking at the 3.5s and the 4. And I thought, let's go look at Cole Beasley. He's getting a lot of dump offs. The way that offense, or the way the Houston defense is going to end up playing, that he might get more. They all look pretty good. They get to that 6 and 7 range, and you're like, that's a lot of catches. Even with Keenan Allen at 7 or 7.5, do you really want to go over that? I don't know. He could get 10 targets and 6 catches and still not get there. That gets to be a little harder. But we have Alvin Kamara here at 4 catches. Awesemo has him for 6.18. So all we need him to do is get to 5. However, I do want to point out his first 3 games, again, week 1, 2, and 3, 4 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 4 receptions, 3 receptions. We're projecting him counting on what he's done in prior years. Now, he's had more rushing attempts this year. He's gone over 20 rushing attempts in 2 of the last 3 games, 20 and then 24 last week. The 20 was in week 1. In his career in the regular season, he has 3 total games over 20 carries. He also has 2 at 19. So in any event, he has 5 regular season games of 19 or more. 2 of them have come this year, and then he had 1 in the playoffs last year. So that's one's a little bit harder. I did go take the over on this one just because I don't think he's going to be held down that many times. And if we can just get to 5, I just need him to get to 5. That's not out of control. He at least has gotten 4, 6, and 4 targets. So if he had caught all of his targets, which he's only he's dropped, or he did not catch 4 of them, he'd be there each week, right? It's 3, 4, and 3. It's just, we're so close. Could you see him at the end of the first drive with 3 catches and you're smiling, hoping, hey, we got another 3.5 quarters. I like my chances here for him to get 2 more catches. That's sort of what we're hoping for here.
Yeah, I love it. I think that, again, Kamara's not going anywhere in that game script. And even if they're up big, there's a strong likelihood that he's been involved, and it's not just breaking a big run or two. There's no better way to just sustain an offense, especially a drive, by getting him in. And look, there's another thing too that I know gets overlooked with Kamara a lot because he's such a dynamic pass catcher and they work him as far as a top progression. But there's also just, hey, you've gone through Jameis Winston, looking a couple of different guys, and the dump-off factor. The dump-off factor to Kamara, of all people, I think, is also in there. That may be good just for 1 catch alone on Sunday, but that may be the difference, right, between 4 and 5, right? So I think that you have to go over with that number being so low. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Our next one, we have some touchdowns here. Now, I got all excited because I was thinking I was clicking on rushing touchdowns and I saw Mac Jones. I'm like, oh my God, 1.5? We can't do this. No. It's combined touchdowns. But 1.5 combined, passing touchdowns. It might even be combined. It is combined touchdowns. 1.5 for Mac Jones. So 89% chance he gets a passing touchdown. 14% chance he gets a rushing touchdown. Those together, not even 1.2. So basically, we're saying the likelihood is he does not exceed 2. Now, touchdown, you either get one or you don't. He only needs to account for 2. It's totally possible, but this, Tampa Bay's a good defense. Belichick maybe decides to run the ball. I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to see. Big game there. Did you know Tom Brady used to play for Tampa or for?
I didn't know
New
that.
England?
I thought it was all about the tight end who is out now due to injury.
Yeah. There's no.
There's no more drama now. What do we do? It's just another football game.
Exactly.
So you're going under Mac Jones with authority.
I'm going under. I don't know that
with
that's
authority. I love
not
it.
With authority. That one's not with authority. I have another one. I have one more with authority. But
Mac Jones is going to throw 2 touchdowns. I know the Bucs defense is a little soft.
No. I'm saying these are strong plays. I've got 2 locks that I like that are going to be in most of them. Would be in most of my cards. This is the one where I'm filling it out because we got to get to 3, 4, or 5 if we want that upside payoff, or if we want to play that flex play and maybe double our money if we get 4 out of 4, and then and then triple it if we get 4 out of 4, double it if we get 3 out of 3, right? You need some stuff in the flex play, but I feel strongly enough that this is an in play for me on that. If I was making 3, I made 2 different cards. It did not make it on them, but it's enough that it's in the mix there. Kamara, half a touchdown. We say 56% over. That's rushing. He doesn't have any rushing touchdowns yet this year. I just wanted to point that out because I've been talking a lot about Kamara. He does have 2 receiving touchdowns. While he does get a lot of carries, is he going to be the guy in the goal line? Maybe via pass, or is Taysom Hill going to be in there to try to spread the defense out and then do a keeper? That one makes me nervous. I don't like that one, but I wanted to bring that up. Now, we're on to the next one. So I got my gimme and my 2 intriguing ones. My gimme, DJ Moore, full PPR scoring. PrizePicks has him at 17. Awesemo has him at 21.1. You can make on your card, which I did, the fantasy points and then the yardage over on the same card for the same player because it's different categories. So if you're feeling strongly, if he's going to get 17 fantasy points, he pretty much is going to get his, 70 yards.
Absolutely.
So you're sort of leveraging that particular outcome. So that would be putting DJ Moore in there on 2 different questions is my move. The Josh Allen 25 fantasy points. Awesemo has him for 27.9. All he needs to do is run one in. Now, he's not running with nearly the frequency he did last year. This is a game where he doesn't really need to. But could Houston's defense break down inside the red zone and all of a sudden we look up and Josh Allen is rolling out, the pocket's going, oh, there he goes, 16.5 yards for a touchdown. That's it, right? And all of a sudden you're like,
Yep.
Crap. Now he only needs a couple hundred yards instead of getting closer to 300. So I like his fantasy point over better than his passing yard over because it's capturing the rushing yards, the passing yards, as well as any touchdowns. So I like that over. And then the last one is Cole Beasley. I thought we were going to sneak in on this one. I really did. He's at 13.5 in full PPR. So that would be like, 6 for 70. Yep. Okay, that's a pretty good day from Cole Beasley. Now, Awesemo is projecting him for 15.7. So we're over enough. We're not quite 20% over. This one's still in play, but this again comes to how do you feel about the game script and what do you think is going to happen? So maybe I would feel much stronger about this one than I would the Josh Allen passing touchdown or passing overall yardage because we're going to get the full PPR from Beasley. And I think I can look it up real quick. I think they had him at like 5.5 receptions. So I wasn't overly excited about the receptions either.
But
they have Beasley at
points.
5 receptions. Yeah. I like the overall fantasy points better,
absolutely,
than trying to get to 5 receptions because he could land on 5 receptions and still get us to that 13 fantasy points, but just barely.
All right. I don't think that there is any other stone to uncover right now. You've gone through all the categories. You've given multiple cards. You've won people. They don't even realize it until they push it. Hopefully they're using our promo code Awesemo for a match up to $100 on their first deposit, but you've won the money. They don't even realize it. This is like looking into the future without even living it out. You still have to go through and fill the cards out as EMac has done it, but yes, we appreciate that. And I don't know, Carlos, if this is I can't imagine I'm the first person to ever do a show outside on the history of, I'm new here, still newer here. So I'm sure EMac at some point has had to go outside and host a show at some,
No, I never have. I'm
trying to think Jordan's head didn't explode.
If anybody has, if anybody would have done it, it would have been Lindquist.
Well, yeah, he was in Italy. I'm just in my backyard. It's not like I went to a different continent.
I could see somebody like at a hotel deck or something. We've seen Alex in the Awesemo high-rise building before with the skyline behind him. I accused him of being in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or something like that. It's how rich. Okay.
Yes.
Doing the show from there.
I think Rinpack did a show or two with me from that same spot, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. People were like, damn, dude, where the hell are you, man? Awesome. All right. Look at that. We appreciate everybody in here. Just hit that thumbs up button if you can on your way out. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. And again, this promo code is here for you. EMac is here for you, filling out cards. That promo code, Awesemo, will match your first deposit up to $100. We'll be back again next week ahead of week 5, win you some more money. It's all on PrizePicks.com. Thanks, Jordan, producing. Have a great rest of the weekend and good luck.